Hey everybody, welcome to Drive Thru Review 205. Today I'm going to talk about Circus Train. This is a re-release from Victory Point Games. Originally was one of their traditional bagged games with thin components. You can see this has a nice box treatment, thicker counters, a nice mounted board, so to speak. And this is a game that's gone through some iterations, not just the components. I believe it was originally released as sort of a solitaire game. Maybe it was a 1 and 2 player game. And then they came out with an expansion to increase it to 5 players. And now they have basically upgraded the components. I don't know that the rules have changed that much from the original edition. I'm not too sure. It's very much a hybrid game. It has a lot of Euro kind of feelings to it, but it also has some more thematic Ameritrashy kind of pastings in there. So let me show you how it works, and then I will come back and tell you what I think. Okay, so I've got the game here set up. I got 3 players playing the game. You can see we've got some different circus tents here out on the board. So here's one here. These are basically the jobs or the performances that you're going to be giving. I'll explain what some of the iconography is on these in a second. You're going to seed the board with these, basically drawing from this deck of city cards here. So they're going to be randomly drawn out and placed on the board based on the city cards. So if you look here, the game's going to be played in a series of weeks over different months, and you can see you've got sort of a green border on top there, sort of a yellowish border there, and then over on this side here you've got sort of a more reddish looking border there. So as we play through the weeks here, we're going to make sure that we have a certain number of these circus tents that are out on the board. So for the first 2 months, you can see we've got 8 that need to be out, and then 10 once we move into the yellow one. So what we're going to be doing again is we're going to be drawing from the city cards up there, and then we're going to be drawing basically that color of tent. So you can see we've got some green ones here, and so we're going to be pulling these. These are a little bit more basic. You can see some of them just award points, and some of these are performances. And then once we move into the further months, we're going to start drawing from the yellow tents, and then finally we're going to start drawing from the red tents, which are going to be worth a little bit more points. Players are going to take their little trains here, and these are these cool little standee tokens here, and you're going to put them up here in Canada. Now, you can have more than 1 train per spot. There's no problem with that, but everybody's going to start in Canada. And then each player is going to get a deck or a hand of cards. And based on a number of players, and if you're playing a basic game or an advanced game, you may take some cards out. For example, there's no rest card if you're playing the basic game. And so just real quick, I'm going to kind of go over both the games, sort of the basic and the advanced. I've played both. I think the basic game actually works really well. Most of the time in this kind of thing, I say just skip past the basic game and move into the advanced game. But the basic game has enough going on that is still very interesting. So definitely just play, however you feel like it. And I should say there is some optional event decks here and some different characters and things that you can add. That's not really considered part of the advanced game. It's more of extra optional stuff. Haven't played with any of this stuff. I've looked through the event cards, and man, they're pretty gnarly. So maybe after you've played this several times and the game starts to feel samey or something like that, you want to add these in. These are going to drastically change the game. So the gist of the game is you're basically, driving your train around trying to hire talent. So we can see here's a clown talent marker, here's some horse acrobatic type of person there. Now players are going to start with a couple of talent counters in their possession. You always start with a clown, and then you get your choice of a couple of other ones. You're going to put those in your supply there. But you're going to be driving your train around and basically going by these different links here to pick up talent, to maybe go into spots here where you're just going to get straight up victory points, as well as complete these performances here. So how does that work? Like I said, everybody's got a hand of cards, and so on your turn you're just going to play a card. So this, for example, so you may move up to 3 cities. So you just take your train counter and then move it up to 3 spots. Some of these other ones here you may perform or hire. So if you're in a spot with a performance counter, then you would perform. If you're in a spot where you are in a spot where you would hire people, then you would do a hire. So after everybody's played one of their cards, you're going to advance the week track here, and then you're going to replenish, like I said, up to the maximum here. So these need 8 and 10 and so on. So if any of these counters have been gobbled up, you're going to add some more by drawing from the city deck. So what you're really trying to manage here is this hand of cards. So basically what you do is you play a card, and then it's used up until you've played all of your cards, and then you can pick up your entire deck. Now, in the advanced game, you can use reputation or spend your reputation to replay a card that you've already played. And that's really the main difference in the advanced game, is this addition of reputation. There's a couple other minor differences, but that really is the crux of it. So I'll talk about reputation in more detail in a second. So like this one here, you must move 1 city or perform or higher. Like this one, you can move up to 5 cities if you're trying to get to some tasty stuff that's far away. This is going to be very useful. You may move up to 2 cities and or perform and higher, and then you can move up to 3 cities. And then finally, we've got this wages card here. This is a key card. So you may move up to 2 cities, and then you must pay wages or eliminate talents. So if you look here at the bottom of the board, you can see the wages that each of these talent types is going to require. So you're always going to have to eventually play this card, no matter what. You're eventually going to have to play that. And then you're eventually going to have to pay these people. And these people are going to be required, so to speak, for fulfilling these performance tokens here. And the more talent you have, the better points you're going to get. So you definitely want to amass a nice variety and a fair amount of these talent guys. But you're going to have to pay them. So you're either going to have to pay these, or you're going to have to eliminate them, those that you could not afford. But you've always got this sort of ticking time bomb coming. And a lot of the game is sort of manipulating around this wages card when you can best do it so it doesn't hurt you as bad as it would. So let's talk about hiring talent. Now, the way that this works is actually pretty interesting. So what you're going to do is you're going to have this die in the game. And then you're basically going to be able to roll to see if you can kind of get them for free. So the idea here is these are bankrupt circuses that you're basically pillaging the talent from. And you're basically going to choose this one, say, I'm going to try to hire him, and you roll the die. And so on a 1 to 4, which I didn't do, then you just get the talent for free. If not, then you've got to pay them a certain amount. And that's going to depend on the type of hire action that you did. So usually it's $10, but if you look down here at the bottom of the board, you can see it's $5, then $10, and then it gets more expensive as the game goes along. But once you hire these, you just take them, you put them in your supply in front of you, and then you've got them now to use in a performance. So let's take a look at this basic performance counter here. So you can see this counter is going to give you 2 points plus this amount of points if you have the acrobats, and that's what that symbol is here. So we can see here's an acrobat counter there, and so they're color coded, and they're also got different shapes there. So if I had the acrobats here, and I also had this these wild animals there, which goes with this shape there, then I would get 2 points plus 3 just for having any acrobats, and then 10 points for the wild animals. Now let's say I had 3 acrobats. So if you have 3 of one of the desired counters, then you're actually going to double the amount of points there. So here, if I had 3 of these, and then 1 of these, and then maybe some other stuff, which they don't care about because you can see it's X'd out, I would get 2 plus 6 would be 8, so I would get 18 points. And so you keep track of the points on this board here. You can see you can flip that over once you go over 100. And the other neat thing is you can see here, there's markers in each of the different player colors there. They're going to start at 10, and then whatever your best performance is, you're going to go ahead and mark that. So in that case, if I was blue and I scored 18 points, I'd go ahead and mark that. And so that would be my best performance. So as I get more talent, and then as the the game goes on and we get better tents, then the best performance markers are going to go up, and then we're going to consider those for end of round and end of game scoring. Now the other thing to keep in mind is as you start completing these performances, you're going to keep these in front of you here. So let's say I had scored this one, then I had scored this one, and then I go here maybe to do this performance. Now in addition to the points that I'm going to get here for this performance, I'm also going to add the base score of all of the performances that I've done before. So you can see I've got 2 plus 3 is 5 from these performances I did earlier. I'm going to add those to this performance. So as you sort of build up a reputation and start doing different circuses all over the country, you're going to get more and more points anyway, just by natural osmosis, I guess. So like I said, everybody's going to play 1 card. We're going to advance the calendar here, and then maybe replenish any tents that need to be put out on the board. And then you can see here at the end of every month, we're going to have a little bit of scoring. And then at the end of some of these longer months, we're going to transition from the green tents into the yellow into the red. So for the first thing you're going to score are the actual talent counters. So for every player that has more than one of a specific talent counter, they're going to get some points. So let's say I had 4 clown counters. That means I had the most. If 4 was the most, I would then get 1 point for each counter that I had. So if I had 5 and that was the most, I would get 5. And then if somebody else had 5, so I've got 4 and somebody else has 5, they would get 5 and I would get 0. So for having the most for each of the different types, you're going to score some points. So it's good to kind of specialize a little bit in a specific kind of talent, which is kind of interesting because, some circuses are known for their clowns or their acrobats and different things like that. So you're going to score that at the end of every month. And then you're going to get bonuses for whoever has the highest best performance. So as these best performances go up, you're going to get extra points. So first place will get 7 points, second will get 4, and that does change a little bit, based on the number of players, but pretty much you want to try to get those big meaty performances so that you get sort of those extra bonuses on top of what you already scored just for completing the performance itself. And then at the end of the game, you're going to have sort of your traditional, sort of Agricola-like scoring. So if you don't have any clown counters, you're going to lose points. If you don't have any animal counters, you're going to lose points. And you're also going to score for the most money. I didn't show you the money there, which is these cool little tokens. And I almost forgot, you're going to get money for completing these performances as well. So you get $5 for the green ones, and then $10 for the yellow ones, and so on. Now that's pretty much the basic game. Now at the end of some of these longer months here with the 5 weeks, the player with the least amount of victory points can actually steal 1 talent counter from any of their opponents there. So now that's going to change in the advanced game. So let's take a look at this reputation thing here. So each player is going to get this little card. Basically, this is your little player aid for the basic game, and this is your player aid for the advanced game. And so you're going to take and put this little arrow here. And so to start the game off, you can see with the advanced game, you can hire talent if you roll a 1 through 5. So it's a little bit easier. But different things in the game are going to allow you to lower and raise your reputation. So an example of a change is when you go to steal talent at the end of a long month, you can only steal talent from players that have reputation lower than where you have it. And as well, when you can also steal talent if you're in the same spot as somebody, but then you're going to basically roll like you normally would, but then add 1 if they have a higher reputation than you. So if they have a better reputation, it's not going to be as easy to steal. And again, like I said, you can replay one of your previously played cards here, but you have to pay by lowering your reputation. So this is a nice little kind of thing here to manage throughout the game. In addition, whoever has the highest reputation at the end of the game is going to get 5 extra points, and there's a couple other little things like that. But this is really sort of the main crux of the difference between the advanced game and the basic game. And I like this a little bit better. It makes it a little bit more manageable and mitigatable as far as some of the die rolling that happens, and especially the stealing, which I think people may or may not like. It does kind of fit this Prohibition era theme there, but you do have this ability to add on just a small little layer of extra rules, but it does help mitigate some of the luck a little bit. And so some of these cards here in the advanced game will give you ways to increase your reputation. So if you do this and you pay your $10, you can perform a circus parade, increase your reputation, or if you rest up in Canada, up there, then you can increase your reputation, or you can get some free, clown or acrobat counters. So there's a little bit of extra stuff there. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the overview. Like I said, this is definitely a hybrid game. You've got your Euro stuff where basically drive around, pick up and deliver, trying to get, the right talent for the right performances so you can maximize your points. The part where it kind of bleeds into some more of the loosey-goosey, thematic stuff is basically where those counters come out and which counters come out. So you may be in a spot where, based on how you drove around in the previous rounds, and then we put some new counters out, and then now you're surrounded by lots of juicy talent with lots of juicy performance counters, and then somebody else has to work a little bit harder to get those. But the catch-up mechanism of the stealing is going to be, I think, sort of a rub for some people the wrong way. But it's definitely a catch-up mechanism because, like at the end of the round, if you have the least points, you can snag a talent from somebody else. And probably that person was able to get to some stuff a little easier based on the luck of how the different things came out. And then you've got the die rolling with hiring, which is a little bit interesting. I kind of enjoy that. I'm not really sure why. It kind of offends my sensibilities a little bit. Why can't I just have a fixed amount that I pay them? So it's very much a lighter type of Euro. But what it kind of redeems it for me in a lot of that stuff is this very kind of tense race to find and get to some of these spots here based on how you manage your hand of cards. I think that really is kind of the game's saving grace. And so I think adding that sort of little bit of luck as far as hiring and stealing talent, it does fit along with that hand of cards. So, like I said, it does offend my sort of sensibilities as a Euro player, or what I expect a Euro game to be. but it works well because you have that fixed hand of cards that you have to be very sort of careful and a little bit calculating, and almost push your luck a little bit with what you play, because once you play it, it's gone unless you spend your reputation to get it back. The game does get a lot tighter when you add more players. I haven't played it with 2, and 2 is actually fun. It's a little bit more of a racing game, but with, it's still a racing game with more, but it's a very tighter, racing game where you're trying to really strike and grab either the talent or the performance, or you maybe even do a performance where you don't have as good a stuff as somebody else. Maybe I just want to get the 2 points and I've got a clown counter or something and I get like 5 points. And the other guy would have racked up like, 20 or 25 or something, especially towards the end of the game, you start to get bigger scores. So that can be a little bit, dirty pool, nasty thing. But to me, that fits kind of the theme of this Prohibition era. I picture these drunk guys, drive around in their trains, bringing booze in from Canada, which the rule book makes reference to, and trying to basically, play their little slick willy roles and their sort of snake oil salesmen, that kind of thematic kind of thing. So I get that with the, with how the game works. So I think that hand management, if that sounds interesting to you, then I would say this is definitely something that you should look at, because that really is sort of the focal point of that game, is really managing all those cards and trying to figure out, okay, if I spend the 5, movement, am I really going to be able to grab that performance or somebody else that maybe is a little bit closer to me? Maybe they're going to get it, or what are they really trying to go for? Maybe they're better off to go for another performance counter. So you've got to kind of gauge and watch other players, and like I said, with more players, it's really going to get very cutthroat and nasty. So, like I said, it's very Euro-y feeling. Basically pick up and deliver, but it's a very nasty sort of thing where you can steal not only talent, but you can steal performances and stuff right out from underneath somebody. So I like the game, and I definitely recommend the game. So, Circus Train, take a look. Thanks.